Dr. Janice Moranz, MD. Very impressive woman, was teaching second grade for 10 years. She was valedictorian of her class. Decided to go to medical school in her 30s. She's a dermatologist now, but she also helps people lose weight. The ongoing push that I want to do my part in bringing people in that know, that teach this, that coach this. 75% obesity and overweight here in the U.S. It's absolutely terrible. We could have had so many less deaths in the pandemic um, if we were healthier. I lost a lot of weight, but Dr. Moranz, Janice, has some great insight, has great content on how to lose weight, talks about, the 80-20 rule, of course, 80% be disciplined, and then 20% you can certainly cheat. She has great insight on fruit, on when to eat it, and processed carbohydrates versus non-processed. A great discussion with Dr. Moranz on this subject. She's got great content. You're going to enjoy it. She's very kind of crisp and deliberate with her messaging. Very well put and very concise. You're going to enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, in their passion, in their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Very excited to talk to you, Dr. Janice Moranz. Thank you for being here. How can we help you help others, help America? Obesity and overweight is what, 75% of our population here. It's a horrible thing. Perhaps the biggest issue we face today. It looks like you're doing everything you can. You've got great content. How can we help you help them, us?
You have to find people who really want to do this. It's not, you can't just say, oh, I want to lose weight and that's it. And you have to do it for yourself. You can't do it for somebody else, or you'll lose interest. But it's so hard to find someone who's really serious about it. That is the problem.
Yes, and we all have friends that we know are overweight or obese. It's very delicate, Janice. You can't, how do you bring that subject up?
Yeah, it's hard. It's for me. I feel like I can do it because I'm a doctor and I can say, I'm doing this for your health. But it is hard. I think it's harder for a friend. It might be easier for a relative. But you even though you say, well, it's not because of how you look, it's because of your health. And even if you say that, it's hard to get someone to really want to listen. They want it to be their idea, not your idea.
Can somebody be obese or overweight and still be healthy?
Not really. Um, but it's funny that you asked that because you also can be too skinny and
Mm.
not be healthy. But generally, if you're a good weight, your joints will be happy, your heart, you won't get diabetes. Just so many diseases are either caused by obesity or worse by obesity. So it's important.
Very important. And the issue is, of course, with, let's say, mental health, which is another very important issue in our country, perhaps in the world. You can't tell physically that they're struggling with mental health, but with obesity and weight, it's obvious. So they have to deal with
Yes,
that.
yes. And I don't know if they don't realize that, but when you see someone that's really obese, there's something wrong
Mm.
emotionally or mentally, because how do you let yourself go that far and be so uncomfortable? And I think part of it is that it's a gradual process, and so your body likes adapting to it as it goes. But if you look back to when you were younger and you weren't obese, um, there's a lot of things you could do that you can't do now.
Give me an example.
Climbing stairs,
Mm.
um, you know, used to, be able to run up the stairs, and now it's like you try to almost avoid stairs and, take the elevator. And if you have, two stories in your house, you know that when you get to the top of the stairs and you're, totally out of breath, or you have to stop and rest on your way up the stairs, I mean, that says something.
Mm. What is your feeling on BMI, on body mass index?
I think it's one indicator.
Mm.
Um, it's like it depends a lot of times on whether you're very muscular or not. If you have a lot of muscle, you're going to weigh more because muscles weigh more than fat.
Right.
But just as a general way to sort of assess, it does help because if you're like over 25 BMI, then you're overweight, not obese. I think you have to be 30 to be called obese, but 20 is much better. And then you can, give or take a little bit. It's not exact, but it is something that you can use to help you assess.
Yeah, I agree. It's a factor. I know a lot of athletes, that are 6, 7%, body fat, but they're
Hmm.
considered obese on the BMI. I mean, they're just very muscular. So perhaps it's not a measure for all, but it's just one factor.
Hmm. Yes, it definitely. And then most of the people that are very muscular, they know that the BMI isn't going to be accurate
Mm,
for them.
mm.
So I think it's the people that are obese that don't really want to accept the BMI.
Now, were you ever overweight?
No, and so I do worry that some people say, well, she's never been
Hmm.
overweight, she doesn't know what it's like. Um, but it's like that's why I'm not overweight. I'm like afraid of it. I mean, I see what it does to people and how hard it is to lose. I mean, when I gain a few pounds, I will immediately try to lose them because it's easy to go up, up,
Hmm.
up. And when you finally realize that you have to go back down, you're like, it's so far out of reach that it's like too overwhelming. So I just never wanted to be that overwhelmed by it. So I'm very careful. And I love food. I mean, I love to eat, but I do have to watch and I tell people you don't have to be 100% good all the time, but if you will, eat the right foods 80% of the time, it'll be fine. So you can, some people say cheat. It's not really cheating, but you have to allow yourself a little bit of leeway, but you can't, you know, do that minute after minute after minute.
Yeah, I often hear the 80-20 rule, and I try to follow it myself. 80% of the time eating well, and 20%, like you say, kind of cheating. You have a you taught second grade for 10 years. You graduated high school valedictorian. You finished college, summa cum laude. You went to medical school. I mean, very impressive educational background. But it seemed that your passion had always been helping people, teaching people how to lose weight and stay healthy.
Right. No matter what I do, it has to do with teaching and it has to do with health.
Yeah, and what for me, so I don't know what you know about me. So I was at 340 pounds. I
Oh my.
I started my business in the 90s. I'd have always been an athlete, but I was working 14, 16-hour days, and before you know it, I blew up. And then doctor finally told me, "Do you want to see your daughter, graduate from high school?" I was pre-diabetic, pre-hypertensive. So that was kind of my come to Jesus moment. I turned it around. I pretty much kept eating what I was eating. I just cut it in half, and everything I was drinking, I just changed the water. And then I
Hmm.
exercised every day for about 7 months, lost about 100 pounds, and then eventually a little bit more, doing some triathlons and such. But my point is that I had that come to Jesus moment. I call it was, my doctor saying, "You're not going to see your daughter." So do
Hmm.
people need to see to kind of get to that low? I mean, that's what happened to me. I've talked to others that didn't need that, but how do we get people to that point?
Yeah, I use grandchildren
Mm,
thing, do you want to see your grandchildren? But, you know, daughter is even more immediate for sure. Um, but yeah, everybody's different and they have different reasons. And so you have to kind of find out by talking and asking questions, what it is that would mean something to them. And it could be grandkids, it could be your daughter, it could be um, you can't walk from one side of the room to the
mm.
other. It's so much easier when you like catch yourself before you get to the point that you're that obese. But unfortunately, a lot of people are there, and it makes it more difficult
Lose
and takes longer.
Losing weight is one of the most difficult things to do in life. But when I see pictures of myself back then at my heaviest, I tell my buddies, "Why did you let me get that fat? Why didn't you tell me?"
Ah,
And maybe my tongue's in my cheek a little bit, but still, I just because I really couldn't tell. I knew I was definitely getting bigger, but I felt fine, right? You don't feel blood pressure, and you get used to
right.
like losing breath a little bit going upstairs, and you don't. It's not like black and white. It's just kind of I was younger too, so it's just. I guess I go back to that original question: is that how do you encourage your friends to maybe take a look at it? You bring up a really good point. Say it's not how you look; it's more about your health.
Hmm. So, what did your friends say? Did they have an answer for you?
Oh, I noticed you were getting bigger, but no big deal. You'll just lose it. We were all working, and we're young, and really nothing. You know, uh, and so I look at myself today, and I have some friends that are that way, and I think, wow, should I do something about? It's such a delicate because you can really lose a friend. For if you're
Yeah,
if you approach this incorrectly, sensitive.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I know I've seen people that have something on their skin. So I'm a dermatologist, so I will see something on their skin that looks like it could be melanoma. And it's not that hard to tell someone that,
Mm,
because it's like it's not their
right.
fault, that they have it. And so, I do feel that it's life saving to tell them that and have them go to their dermatologist and get it checked. But it's so personal when it's weight,
Mm,
and it's hard. It's hard to tell people, but I guess you could say, well, I want to say this because I am concerned, for your health, and I'm afraid that you won't be alive to see your daughter get married, or whatever. You can phrase it like that. It's better than just, I think you're too heavy. But it's still very, a personal thing, and the person has to want to lose the weight. And if you're not ready, it's like smoking. They won't, you have to be ready to stop smoking, or it just isn't going to happen.
we have interventions for people that are, heavily into drugs or alcohol. And, you hear this happening, people getting together and, they come home and they see everybody in the living room and what's happening here. And perhaps we should consider with this with obesity.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I guess some people do that. I mean, that's why we have Weight
Mm,
Watchers, and for people to be together with other people, and it's like Alcoholics Anonymous or
mm.
something. The Weight Watchers could be similar to that. So we do have those things, but you still have to go there and decide that you're going to stay with it long enough to see some results.
Yeah, that's always very, very tricky. I wonder, I wonder what we can do. And the truth is that if 75% of us are overweight or obese, the person telling that person may have to shed some weight as well. So it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, but that's actually kind of an interesting idea, is that they can say, well, let's do it together.
Mm,
Because it's always easier to do it with someone. The easiest is to do it with someone right in your own house, because that way the bad food won't be
yeah,
there
no,
to
that's
eat.
right.
So, but you can do it by yourself, but just like even walking or going to the gym, it's always more effective if you do it with someone, because if you don't go, you're letting them down as well as yourself. And so a lot of times people will go ahead and do it because they don't want to let somebody else down.
Absolutely. You've got a lot of great content on your YouTube. One, you talk about just trying to create new habits. You talk about water. We always hear about, drinking water. You mentioned drinking it before meals and trying to go at 8 to 12 ounces a day, getting your weight, dividing it in half. And I know for me, removing all those sugary drinks, I was drinking so much soda. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a wasted calories the way I look at it now. And
Hmm.
just ice water is so refreshing, and it's built not to make you thirsty like those other drinks. But
Hmm.
talk about the importance of water. It's just so simple and free and available.
Yeah, and our about 65 to 70% of our body is made up of
Hmm,
water. So it's easy to get dehydrated, and you know, drinking things that have caffeine can actually make you more
right.
dehydrated because it's a diuretic. But some people don't like to drink water because it has like no taste. So I always tell people to put something in it, like some fruit. I mean, we already know about putting lemon in water, or lime. So why not berries? Put in the blender and just get those berries all into the water. And you can make it, it tastes like
Mm,
strawberry, or tastes like blackberry, or apricot, anything. And some places that you'll notice there's like cucumbers in the water. That's not one of my favorite, but in other words, vegetables can go in there too. And it just gives it some kind of flavor. So it's not just so plain. And so it's something you can do. You don't have to, but I agree that water can be very refreshing and you don't even have to necessarily have a flavor. But some people just really need that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your view on intermittent fasting?
I think that it can be good. It's something at least that people can try. If it works, that's great. And if not, try something else. But intermittent fasting is something that we automatically do. Typically, if once you go to
Hmm.
bed, you don't get up. Well, there are people that get up in the middle of the night and eat. And so they're not giving their body a chance to fast at all. But if you say, well, I'm not going to eat anything past 6 o'clock in the evening, and then you don't eat breakfast until 8, well, now you've had 14 hours of fasting that you didn't even have to really think about. So that it's you don't want to do it during the day because you're up and you're awake, and it's a lot more like you want to eat something, and you're hungry. When you're sleeping, you usually don't realize that you're hungry.
Yeah,
So it's easier.
yeah, I agree. I find that I've been intermittent fasting for almost a year. I went to see my doctor. We'll talk about the medical profession in a moment, but my doctor's I got a checkup, and I got weighed, and she said to me, "Hey Joe, did your Peloton break?" This is her
Mm,
sarcastic. I've known her for a long time, and she's very it's fine.
mm-hmm,
But I said,
mm-hmm,
okay, this is your way of telling me I've gained a little. So I started cutting back a little bit more, and then I just started noticing that I only need 2 meals a day. I stop eating, like you said, around 5 or 6, and I go to bed. I'm hungry sometimes, but it's amazing when you wake up, you're not hungry at all. That hunger
mm,
just leaves. Your body, I think, is just kind of freaking out that it thinks that it's not going to get fed again, so it kind of,
mm-hmm,
it kind of worries you. But so it's been working for me. I don't know if I recommend it for everybody. There are times when I don't do that, but
mm-hmm,
it happens to work for me. And let's talk about like when you go to get checkups. I know I've talked to people that are overweight, and their doctors just say to them, well, we'll put you on some prescriptions. you know um, Even during this whole pandemic, we didn't hear messaging from the government about start walking and start eating less and start getting healthier, and let's just kind of get some medication. I mean, that I feel that just needs to shift. We could have tackled this pandemic so much better if we were healthier.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for some people, they just gain more weight,
Yes.
and they call it COVID weight.
Right, right.
So yeah, I mean, but I know some people who took advantage of it to lose
Mm.
weight. So yeah, it would have been a good opportunity,
Absolutely. And
actually. Yeah.
yeah, and typically when people eat home, they generally eat better. That's another thing. Just start cooking. It can
Mm-hmm.
be simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then there are some things you can cook that aren't so
Of
healthy.
course.
Um, so I like to have people start with looking for healthy recipes that they like. You know, if you don't like cauliflower, don't look at cauliflower recipes. I mean, you don't beat yourself up. But you first have to know what things, are good and not good. And, you'd think you know that, but it's amazing. I mean, everybody knows that you shouldn't eat cake and cookies and ice cream if you're trying to lose weight. But, um, like, for instance, there's oatmeal. And a lot of people think that oatmeal is good. And it is if you do the whole oatmeal, whole grain that you have to cook for 25 minutes. But the kind that you put in the microwave and it's done in a minute isn't any better than eating sugar because it's going to get into your bloodstream very quickly and spike your blood sugar. And that isn't what we want. We want it to get into your bloodstream slowly and then go down slowly and stay in that narrow range as opposed to way up and way down.
Yeah, you've got it. I'm sorry.
Now, I was just going to say another example is fruit. Fruit, we all know it's good for us, but if you eat it like as juice, and you drink orange juice, and a lot of it like every day, not good because it's the juice means that you've already processed it, so it gets again into your bloodstream really quickly, and then your body has to produce a lot of insulin to get it back out. And what it does is it stores it as fat. So you want to pick fruit. You want to eat whole fruit that has the fiber with it. And even better is to have like a protein with the fruit. So as an example, a lot of people know about eating apples with peanut butter. And so you have the fat in the peanut butter, and you also have the protein in the peanut butter. And so again, then the fruit is not going to get into your system so quickly.
Very interesting. And you have a great video on where you talk about the difference between processed and non-processed carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Big difference.
So eating protein isn't going to make you fat. And then we do need fats, but there's good fats and bad fats. So you have to know that difference. And then it's the carbs where most people have the problem. But don't forget, fruit and vegetables are carbs, and they're good. It's the ones that are processed that are not good and gets into your system too fast and then stored as fat.
And examples are, bread and, something that actually has been physically processed.
Mm-hmm. So with bread, the only bread that's not good is white bread. Um, so if you eat whole wheat bread or bread made from whole oats, any kind of whole grain, then it's not processed. Your body has to process it. And that's what we want.
Very interesting.
So a lot of times I'll tell people stay away from the white stuff because the white stuff is your processed flour, white sugar, white rice, white potatoes. So if someone was actually staying away from those 4 white things, they would inevitably lose weight.
I've heard the term eat the rainbow.
Well, that's your fruits and vegetables because it has all of the good stuff that we need, like, resveratrol and a lot of the berries that are so colorful they're very good antioxidants, which means that they're anti-inflammatory. So yeah, if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you've got lots of rainbow there, and that is good for you.
So when somebody comes to see you, do they say, I want to lose weight? Do they want to be put on a regimen? How do you work with people?
If they want to lose weight, then we have to explore what is really going to work for them. So first I have to make sure that they really want to do this and what are the reasons that it's not for somebody else. And then we have to determine what kind of changes they're willing to make. And I think that 80% rule is helpful when they know that they don't have to do it 100%
Mm.
of the time. Another thing I think is helpful is that I tell them they don't have to be in the gym 7 hours a day. A lot of people like they say, "Oh, the reason I've gained weight is I haven't been exercising," but it's really 90% of it is what you put in your
Right.
mouth. So you do want to move your body, and that's very important. But you can do that by just walking 30 minutes a day, really is okay. The more you exercise, you will lose weight a little bit faster. And of course, you'll build muscle. And if that's what you want to do, that's going to help you. But you really only have to walk. And so I think a lot of people are relieved that, you don't have to spend all day in the gym because we don't have that kind of
Mm.
time. And of course, some people don't enjoy that. Some people do, but most people don't have the time to really be able to spend that much time in the gym. Instead, it's just learning what is okay to eat and what isn't.
You mentioned at one particular point when kind of discovering their need to lose weight, make sure it's not for somebody else. What do you mean by that?
Well, if a spouse says, you're fat and I think you should lose weight,
Oh.
it's like, ugh, they don't want to do that. Or if they think they do, they're not going to be able to stick with it because you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to want to do it yourself. And like I was saying, just like smoking. So, and that's why a lot of people, they might hear it from their doctor that they need to lose weight. But again, it, it's like they have to want to do that. And I think a lot of times you don't even realize, like you said, your body can adapt to it, and you don't even
Mm.
realize that you're um, really not being so unhealthy. But if you can really be shown, how can you get on the floor and play with your grandkids, and can you get up again, is the important part. Um, because there's things that we did when we were younger that as we get older, if we do gain a lot of weight, we can't do those things anymore. If they can think about that. Another thing is like with clothes, people have clothes in their closet of many, many different sizes. Well, what does that tell us? And um, you want to be able to wear the clothes that you like. They're just sitting there waiting for you, and you can't get them on. And sometimes that will motivate someone, especially if they really like the clothes they have and they can't wear them.
On the podcast, I the common thread is discipline. So, Janice, when people ask me, how did you lose, 160 pounds? Everybody
Hmm.
kind of wants this quick fix, silver bullet kind of thing. And I just say, I lost it through discipline. I was focused. The doctor told me what they did. And I didn't tell anybody. In my case, I was better motivated if I didn't tell. Some people need accountability,
Hmm.
but I didn't. And I just changed everything I did. But how does it play a role in your life particularly?
Oh, yes, definitely. Um, I mean, I would have never been able to go to medical school
Mm.
after teaching for 10 years if I didn't have discipline. I mean, it's not easy, and it's not like you did it when you were, I mean, I didn't even enter medical school till I was
Wow.
31. So it definitely takes discipline. Now, losing weight does
Mm.
too, but um, it's helping people to be able to get through that without being so strict with themselves that it's like not fun and it's painful and they can't. do it because they just they can't go through it, and you have to have someone to coach you through it. You know, what is bothering them, you know? Are they upset because they can't eat a certain thing? Well, okay, let's find out what we can substitute for that. Or yes, you can have chocolate, but you get the real dark chocolate and you eat one square, and you only do it if you were good throughout the
Mm.
day. And that's your reward, because your brain really likes rewards. So you have to, you know, you have to give it to your brain so that your brain will cooperate with you.
Very interesting. And so when you're coaching people through this, are you
Mhm.
counting calories? Are you not enforcing, but are you recommending and kind of discipline in that 80/20 kind of role?
Yeah, you don't have to count calories. Um, I try to make it easy. My program's called Roadmap to Easy Weight Loss. So you don't have to count, you don't have to measure. Um, but if you're eating the foods that are what we call low glycemic, which are not processed, you will lose weight. So you have to you need the education of what is processed and what isn't, and only buy the things that are good for you, don't have anything else in the house. And when you go out, another thing I teach is how to look at the menu and find the things that are okay and how to substitute things. Like instead of the potatoes, you get twice as much
Hmm.
vegetables. You just ask for a double portion of vegetables and don't even have them put the potatoes on your plate. It's too hard to not eat them
Yeah.
if they're there. So you don't want to, sabotage yourself.
The process of losing weight, is it art or science?
Probably a little of both. But I think that the science might be a little bit more important, because if you know about what glycemic index
Mm.
is and you eat things that are low glycemic, that's mostly science. And then you're going to lose weight just automatically if you don't eat things that are high glycemic.
Yeah, it's just going to happen, isn't it?
Hmm.
Dr. Janice Moranz, what motivates you
You mean to help people?
overall? What motivates you?
Um, I would rather see a person healthy than not
Hmm.
healthy, and be comfortable instead of like uncomfortable or in pain. Um, I want people to be able to enjoy their life and be in control. Um, so when you're in control and you can lose the weight, you will have a lot more confidence also. And I like having helping people to feel like they're more confident, because I know they can't feel confident when they're so heavy.
Mm.
They don't feel like it, and they're, it's like, well, what are people saying? And then it just makes everything harder. So if you can get to a healthy weight, so much of your life will be easier and you'll be able to do things that you want to do. And I think that's why I like to help people do that.
Well said. And how do you measure success?
Um, you can measure it by the weight,
Hmm.
but you don't want to just focus on that. One of the things that is very helpful is how your clothes fit. A lot of people, the first thing they'll notice is that their clothes are looser. Even before they lose weight. So you want your so success is if you're if the weight goes down, if your clothes fit better, if you can get to a smaller size, and if you are feeling better, um, you'll be able to do more. You don't have to worry about your joints, you know, aching and killing you all the time. Every time you try to like go up the steps, get on the floor, get up from the
Hmm.
floor. Just everyday things that you don't do because you can't anymore.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And the goal should be healthy. It should be healthiness, physically,
Hmm.
mentally, etc. And that's certainly a good way of measuring success. Doctor, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. How can people get in touch with you? You've got a lot of great content. I'll put it in the show notes, but what are some ways they can get in touch with you?
There's a couple ways. They can just email me, and that's my name, Janice Moranz, at Comcast.net. And I also have a way for them to schedule a free consultation, and that's through the Calendly link, which is a way to schedule, and it's just www.calendly, CALENDLY.com/ my name, Janice Moranz.
Very good. And your website, Roadmap to Easy Weight Loss.
To Easy Weight Loss. Can go
That
there.
probably has those links there, correct?
Yes, it does.
Very good.
Yep.
And that also has a link to your YouTube, which I highly recommend. A lot of great content there. You get into it, and it's not too long, and it's concise, and it's really easy to consume.
Yeah, and I'll be probably making some more short videos for that over time.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your insight. I continue to try to work with people to try to get America healthy. I've been there, and it's difficult, but you got to keep it off. We didn't even talk about yo-yo dieting. How that's, I mean, that's supposed to be even worse than
Hmm.
just staying obese.
Well, for your body, but it's also very disheartening.
Right, mentally.
I mean, you lose the weight and then you gain it
Right.
back after all that work. How did you feel when you lost the weight?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. The stark difference was absolutely amazing. Had to throw away about 9 bags of clothes, and I said this wasn't temporary. I've completely changed, the way I eat now, and
Hmm.
I still think about it now. I mean, it's I still think occasionally there's a 300+ pound person inside me trying to break out, and I've got to keep
Hmm.
them in. So
Hmm.
it's a continuous struggle because Janice, food is so tasty. Cookies are
Oh,
really
yeah.
tasty.
Yes, they are.
you know, yeah, and nobody's saying you
So there's
can't.
your 80, yeah, your 80/20
That's right. That's
rule.
right.
So it's not like you have to give it up forever.
That's right. That's right.
You can have it, but it's everything in
In
moderation.
moderation. Absolutely. Thanks again so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope perhaps one day we'll even meet each other face to face and have a cup of that pomegranate juice you said that you liked. Was it? No, you didn't like cucumber
Right.
water. Yeah.
But
So yeah,
any kind of
any
fruit
kind
is
of fruit in
okay.
the
Yeah.
water. Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. You be well. Have yourself a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you very
Bye
much.
now.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciplined Conversations.